Thabo, can you hear me?
Thank you, Tabiso.
Yes. Thabo, I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit. I can barely hear you, but I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Thabo, I think did I explain correctly what the NFCF is? Did I encapsulate correctly what you guys aim to do? As you said, trying to, well, give a voice to those who felt neglected in football. Is that correct?
Thanks a lot, Tabi. So you are correct. You are correct that for the first time in the history of South African football administration, you have multi-sectoral stakeholders coming together to voice out what is their interest, what is their view in the outcomes of an elective conference. But more importantly, in the future of football administration. It is not a political organization. It is not a faction. It is not a coup d'etat. It is only a platform upon which South Africans, the public who are consuming the product, can voice out their preference of who they think should participate in the leadership of football.
Now, just to take up on that very issue, Thabo, it's a bit confusing for me. The NFCF on Monday announced, well, potential names for the leadership of the South African Football Association. I think they included Dr. Danny Jordan, the incumbent, currently the man, well, basically you're trying to remove by saying that you want change at SAFA. Make two prospective presidential candidates. You had as well former Bafana captain Lucas Radebe and Vice President Mwelo Nonkonyane. They, though, are ineligible, but on screen right now we have the focus group results that apparently you held. Take us through that. I mean, you say you're not political, but you have a preference to who runs it. How is that about?
Just a quick correction, Sitole. The NFCF is not a lobby group for any particular candidate.
Okay.
The NFCF is a platform to provide those who want to raise their hands for leadership to be tested against public confidence. If Danny Jordan, the current incumbent, has those particular interests, as you would see, the results of the poll that we ran throughout this week shows that about 9,966 people have that confidence. Leading this confidence poll is Tokyo Sexwale, who the people of South Africa who participate in that poll said we would prefer to see him at the helm of football, followed by Ace Ngobo with over 208 votes. Now, it is not the intention of the NFCF to try and replace the current football administrators or leadership, but what we're saying is that for the first time in the history of an elective process, South African must be afforded the opportunity. You will recall that this is unprecedented. It has never happened. So we need to consult with the public and say, what do people think about SAFA and the football administration future going forward? And these results are the confident indication.
Just a quick one. Those numbers, quite a few of them, am I correct if I'm reading them correctly? Those 9,000 votes for, I'll ask my director to put the graphic up again so I can read the numbers correctly. As far as these results are concerned, over 330,000 people voted for Toko Sexwale, 71,423, Mwelo Nonkonyane, 119,000 for Lucas Radebe. Are these actual numbers, and where did you get the sampling of this this focus group, if I can put it that way? Who voted, basically?
When this platform and initiative was formed, we called a media briefing on Monday in Sandton, Johannesburg.
So is this from Monday?
We announced to the South African public a website, yes, a website that was communicated through various newspapers, various commercial and community radio stations, national radio stations for people to participate. And this morning at 11 o'clock the polls closed and these results were unpacked and announced. So these results were not not a culmination of a particular clique of people. These results are a culmination of public vote of the people who went into the site to vote. This invitation was made to all and sundry, all South Africans throughout the hinterlands of our country, those who love football and wants to see change in football. So that is why I had to correctly put it in perspective and context to say, no one here says Danny Jordan must be replaced. But everyone says South African public for the first time must be provided an opportunity to voice out.
Yeah.
A SAFA elective conference taking place on the 24th of March must, if it has self-respect and introspection, take these results and numbers seriously into account when deciding who needs to be in leadership.
Look, it's a bit debatable. I mean, but I'll take your word for it, because one could say, are they verified, have they been audited? But I guess that's not the point. As you were saying, this obviously is open to South Africans to voice their concerns in South African football. Now, you did put forward the name of, well, we heard Mwele Nokonyane, who previously wanted to run for the presidency of SAFA. But since he was, well, kicked out unceremoniously, if I can put it that way, in 2014, he's not running. He's now put forward Thoko Sexwale, who ran for the FIFA presidency last year. Have you spoken to Mr. Sexwale? Is he aware that the NFCF want him to run for the FIFA or the SAFA presidency? And where are you on that score?
Mr. Thoko Sexwale, like any other candidate who's been afforded an opportunity to be supported by the public, has provisionally raised his hand and to be available. It is now based on his results on him to indicate his levels of availability and give a final confirmation on whether or not he's prepared to be available for nomination to be elected in the SAF. But what is primarily important to note, Sithole, is that this initiative, unprecedented as it is, takes into account the reintrospection and reintroduction of the core basic tenets and values of football administration: accountability, governance and transparency. Because if all those things are fixed, they will automatically and logically cascade into the performance of our national outfit and team, Bafana Bafana, Banyana Nyanyana and the rest. And you will agree with me that currently those outfits and those national teams are performing quite regrettably.
Yeah, let me, we're running out of time. I think at the top of my introduction, I did mention that there was a slight confusion with respect to the NFCF, and not taking anything away from the focus group that you've done, because that is who South Africa would like to see at the helm of the South African Football Association. But since Lucas Radebe and Mwele Nokonyane are ineligible, were your preferences in this regard as the NFCF? Now, this question is, Shoes Masombula ran against Danny Jordan in 2013 for the SAFA election. Fanyana, Sibanyoni, as well as Tolani Mtumtum were part of SAFA back in the days. One could say, is this sour grapes? Are they now trying to, well, get their own person in there to remove a president who was voted in, well, from the structures of football? And these people are not in the structures of football.
Sithole, you need to understand that the process towards an elective conference of any organization, SAFA included, especially a public organization like SAFA, needs to take into account public interest and public purpose.
Which is fine, Thabo, which is fine. I agree with you.
NFCF, this NFCF was set up by, amongst other things,
I agree with you, Thabo. The public have spoken those votes.
The National Association of Football Supporters.
Yes, I agree with you, Thabo. The people have voted. I agree with that survey. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm saying yourself and the gentleman that I've mentioned, the NFCF, are now saying they want changes to the South African Football Association. Initially, they wanted Lucas Radebe. He's ineligible. Mr. Nokonyane is ineligible. They are now pushing for Thoko Sexwale, who is their plan B, if I'm reading correctly, as reported, coaching you in the media, that, well, if you can't get those in, you're going to push for Thoko Sexwale. Is it just not sour grapes that your people cannot be in there and they're not within SAFA structures, and that's why they're ineligible?
No. That's besides the point, and that's neither here nor there. In fact, it's incorrect to even put it in that context. You do not, no one has the moral authority to render anyone ineligible to be elected into the position of football in this country.
Are they within SAFA structures?
Public, as the primary custodian of football, is invited, the regions are invited to make a determination of who should lead. The technicality on whether or not Lucas or whoever is ineligible is born in a SAFA constitution, which technicality, by the way, is challengeable. The purpose of the NFCF is not to determine the eligibility or ineligibility of people, but is to test public confidence against certain names. And these results are an exact indication of that. I
totally agree with you. Hence I'm saying I'm totally happy with what you've done as far as the results of the test you've done with the public. They've got the right to choose their leader. But again, I'm still testing the waters with regards to the gentleman who you are representing as their spokesperson, who they themselves cannot make it onto the SAFA board because, well, you need to be a SAFA member, South African Football Association member to run for presidency. Thabo, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thabo Masombula coming to us from our Pretoria studios. He is the NFCF spokesperson, but I'm sure we're going to hear more on this topic. So do stay tuned right here on SABC programs and try and get some more on this topic. Stay with us on SABC News Channel 404. We take a quick break. We're running out of time. Boxing news coming up. Something happening this weekend in the Eastern Cape.